targeted cyber attack is a sophisticated form of IT threat that singles out a specific organization or person. The main goal of such attacks is to gain access to sensitive information, which can then be exploited to damage the target or benefit another party.
Hello everyone, I'm Eugene Kaspersky, CEO and co-founder of the company, which by coincidence has the same name. And we work with IT security for many years, and of course that makes us a little bit paranoid. Yes, we are paranoid. Unfortunately, we see more and more incidents, successful incidents, with big enterprises, very big names, and government resources. Cyber criminals and so-called hacktivists, they're getting more successful with these attacks. In the past, 2, 3, 5 years back, we had just 1, 2 reports, maybe for a month per quarter. Now we have these reports almost daily.
The stakes and potential rewards for those attacking corporations are high, and they're competing in a wide-open segment of the online black market. The stakes are similarly high for at-risk organizations. The Ponemon Institute's 6th annual Cost of a Data Breach report shows that in the USA alone, the damage done by the average data breach grew more costly for the 5th year in a row, jumping from $6.75 million in 2009 to $7.2 million in 2010. So it's no surprise that the Kaspersky Global IT Security Risk Survey showed almost half, or 46% of organizations across 11 countries, see cyber threats as one of the top 3 developing risks. Among experienced threats, they named these 10 as the most common.
What does surprise me is the fact that the targeted attacks are at the end of the list with just 9%. Why? I think there are much more targeted attacks, but maybe some enterprises simply don't know about that, or maybe just don't report that.
But 2011 started off with a bang. It was marked by an undeniable spike in attacks launched against a whole range of organizations: HB Gary, RSA, BMI, and Citibank, as well as the Play.com and Sony Network services. Over the last year, Kaspersky Lab has responded to numerous incidents in which our corporate customers' networks have been targeted. The US and the UK are the most affected regions, accounting for some 54% of all reported incidents.
What do attackers want? Sensitive information, customer data, financial data, corporate product release schedules. Any sort of information that they would find valuable or worth selling to a third party. Sophisticated attackers don't just go away after a couple of failed attempts. The attackers are relentless, well-coordinated, and worst of all, effective.
For example, in May 2011, Sony reported it may shell out more than $170 million in damages related to the CryoCity and PlayStation Network Services hack, which led to compromising data for more than 100 million accounts. Data breaches can also have legal consequences for the affected organizations.
Over the last few years, we've seen several lawsuits and class actions instigated by victimized customers and clients. Data breaches impact executives. They're being held directly accountable for their company's non-compliance with client protection guidelines and therefore face high fines or other costs. Data breaches can be career killers, forcing resignations from top positions and entire departmental layoffs.
In the case of HB Gary, a technology security company, that's exactly what happened in February 2011. Hackers gained access to a variety of sensitive data which proved very valuable because HB Gary works with large financial organizations and governmental agencies. In most cases, cybercriminals try to make a quick turnaround, selling the stolen data on the black market immediately. Here, however, the attackers made an enormous amount of confidential data publicly available. The attackers' primary objective was to ruin the company's reputation by making a media splash with news of the hack. How do hackers gain access to corporate networks? Usually targeted attacks are made in 4 steps. Step 1, profiling the employees, choosing the most vulnerable targets. Step 2, developing a new and unique malicious program. Doesn't have to bypass all antiviruses, just the one used by the victim. Step 3, mixing the malicious payload with a perfectly tailored social engineering strategy. Step 4, delivering the attack, controlling the network. Social networks are a popular way to get to the target. The overwhelming popularity of such resources has already caught the attention of cyber criminals. Microsoft's Security Intelligence Report found that from the calendar year 2010, phishing attacks based on social networks increased by 1,200%. In the future, the number of attacks carried out on and via these services is only likely to further increase.
According to a Kaspersky Lab survey, over half of the surveyed organizations identified P2P file sharing as the most dangerous threat to IT and IT security. Social networking, which people now use more frequently, was identified as the second most dangerous threat, particularly in the US, Russia, and Brazil.
In the attack on security provider RSA, the human factor also played a significant role.
The attack on RSA started by sending very targeted spear phishing emails to 4 employees within RSA. One of these employees opened the email. It contained a very interesting name, 2011 recruitment plan. There was a file inside. He clicked on that, and a zero-day vulnerability of Flash made sure that the attacker is able to control their machine. After that, the attacker installed a backdoor connectivity, allowing them to send commands from that specific device into the network, which was the first stage of this attack. The next steps were basically going inside the network to more interesting areas for the attackers, identifying some things that we were interested at, and then moving them out. I would say that the most interesting aspect about all of these advanced persistent threats is the actual first step, starting by attacking the employees rather than trying to penetrate the actual networks.
Targeted attacks have a higher success rate because they regularly exploit previously unknown security loopholes called zero-day vulnerabilities. The most sophisticated known use of zero-day vulnerabilities was in the Stuxnet attack.
Stuxnet, the cyber weapon. This is the most complicated malware in the history. It was written by very professional engineers, high-end experts, and I think they had some $1 million in the budget. The malware used a lot of different technologies, social engineering, and zero-day vulnerabilities.
The Stuxnet worm was detected in July 2010, and it was designed to specifically target programmable logic controllers. These are commercially available industrial control devices that are typically used in industrial facilities, power plants, traffic light systems, and other objects that are critical to our day-to-day lives.
Stuxnet, the worm which changed reality. This malware is the first example how IT systems, the virtual world, can affect the real world.
Of course, compared to the number of more traditional cybercriminal attacks that will occur, those with Stuxnet's level of sophistication will be few and far between. However, when they do occur, they'll be potentially far harder to detect, as they're unlikely to affect the average user. Only the odd episode will hit the headlines. The majority of victims are unlikely to ever know they've been targeted. With targeted attacks, the thing is the initial entry points are not strategic enough for the attackers. They need users with more access, more admin rights to relevant services and servers, etc.
The goal is to root out VIPs, or the users with the most access to the most sensitive information. In some cases, the social engineering phase of the attack is not easily detected, so security measures need to detect network intrusion and anomalous computer activity as soon as possible. That's why it's important to select security with the right technology to help you detect these targeted attacks. Keep this list of technologies and tips in mind when building your security. Minimize the attack surface and classify your data. Frequent updates and patches. Proactive protection technologies. Sandboxing and virtualization. Isolate your environments. HIPS, host-based intrusion prevention systems. Behavioral analysis. In the cloud services for faster response. And of course, end user education.
Speaking of cloud security, it's worth noting that it's becoming an industry standard.
Cloud security, that's a new technology which can change this world. Cloud security makes our reaction time much faster. It's not hours to receive the new database update. There are just few minutes when our customers are protected. That can stop most of cyber criminals which are not able to bypass this type of protection and which are not able to monetize their business, which are not able to have the same profit like in the past.
You should remember, we live in a new cyber age. Cyber attacks on corporate users cannot be ignored. The latest studies show the trend is only increasing.
The bad news is that cyber criminals, they are much more professional than in the past. They designed much more complicated malware, and they are very clever with social engineering attacks. But we have good news as well. And it is the fact that cyber police departments in different countries, they are much more professional than in the past. And they are more open for international cooperation. And the second good news is that antivirus industry, the internet security industry, is much more professional. We have new technologies, we have new products and services, and we still can handle the situation, and we still are a very successful player in this game. Stay with us, with our products, with our technologies, with our partners.